Okay, let's talk about those Nogi grips. If Rory is controlling, we're mostly just going to talk about wrist and like neck or collar type grips. If Rory's grabbing my wrist, the weak point will always be that gap between the thumb and the fingers, so I can rotate myself free of it.
So hard to hold on to.
Or just like what we talked about before, I can affix his hand in place and draw my arm back. The thing to be, same thing. If Rory is holding this kind of thing, that's where the space exists. But as we mentioned in the actual like gripping section, anytime I start to rotate my arm, I'm internally rotating my shoulder. In the gi, this is different because the control is not direct. He's not actually grabbing my arm. You notice I can rotate my hand without internally or externally rotating my shoulder. But when he grabs my wrist, because he's got a direct control, I can't roll my wrist meaningfully without exposing my elbow. So we have to be very careful how we use the rotational breaks. So we'll be utilizing a lot more of either pulling up. So the gap is here. I will affix his arm in place, then I'll pull up on it while I pull my wrist down. If the grip was facing this way, I might grab this way, push, and pull back to me. That would be the most efficient way of not exposing, like not doing this sort of thing, where now if he wants to arm drag me or underhook me or whatever, that's super available to him. So just be aware, we can break grips by circling, and the greater the distance, the more that's not an issue. Like if he's out here, whatever, I can circle all I want, it's not a big deal. But as we get closer and closer, if I start making these big circling motions, I start exposing myself. So if we're in more of a close range, that's more how I'd be looking to do it. And the more that I draw my arms to my body as I break the grip, the better off I'm going to be. So like, you know, if I'm playing guard and Rory manages to get a grip on me, well, this is a single grip, we'll talk about that in a second. So here I will pull and slightly push, and then I'll pull his arm towards me. So if he wants to break my grips, now he has to reach to do it, and he's extended a couple of levers for me to attack. If somebody is grabbing both grips, this is quite difficult. Generally speaking, we'll just address the farther one, because if I try doing something about the closer grip, he's still controlling the end of the lever, so my arm becomes, you know, quite vulnerable. So I would reach under this wrist and first break this one, and now I could maybe rotate out of the other one. So like this 2-on-1 style wrist grip, like a baseball bat style grip, this is a very difficult grip to break. I can try to pull here. The other version is this like old classic like self-defense thing where we connect our hands, and now I'm just creating a frame against the top of his wrist while I pull this arm back to me, and that allows me to affect the, you know, again, that weak point at the thumbs.
Yeah, because it depends on also like exactly how my grip is, but in this circumstance where I'm grabbing kind of the baseball bat control lower down, I have 8 fingers on the bottom side of Rob's forearm, and I got 2 thumbs on top. Now I have a thumb and 4 fingers technically going to right and left, which is with Brady's grip.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Rob tried to go straight down in any kind of way, even if he's trying to fix me in place, it just doesn't really make sense. But here, obviously 2 thumbs are weaker than the 8 fingers.
Yeah.
And so that's
now, if Rory changes the grip so that it's that way, then the gap is closer to him, and I would have to go like that. Or again, I would be looking to defend first the top hand and then break. Or so, you know, by top hand I mean the one that's farthest away from my elbow. Yeah. And then if you were to stagger the grip so that rather than having both thumbs, I'll do the grip. So like in this case, I've got like my thumb facing, like rather than having both thumbs kind of sort of lined up here like this, I've staggered the grip a little bit. Sometimes I can change it up so that like right now my thumb is pointed, like the gap in my thumb and my forefinger is pointed this way on this side, and it's pointed towards me on the other side. So now that creates that problem where there isn't a single gap, which is where he'll definitely have to break the grip at the farthest state. So we can't always use
furthest one, because if I break that grip, like Rob said, it's like, well, that doesn't change anything for me.
Doesn't help you. So just be aware there won't always be a thumb on the same side for you to attack. Sometimes people will have the grip slightly staggered. So palm facing right, palm facing left, and now there's not an easy spot for the thumb to go.
And this is
if
where
I slightly stagger
the faster pace of Nogi especially, like there are times where you might choose to migrate to the head for control or legs, but especially at this hand fighting battle, as Rob's trying to get that grip from an earlier stage, as he's grabbing, I'm here. As soon as I'm getting that grip, he's starting to pummel grips back in. And it's just like this endless where we can't quite get enough control to really hold the other person in place. And so the offense has to be much more timed, where whatever your follow-up movement is going to be, it's going to have to happen much quicker because we don't have that large window of opportunity where in the gi, you can sometimes just settle down and break somebody down mentally and physically
exactly.
as you can progress.
And this leads us really well into the idea of attacking in multiple directions and at multiple levels. If I'm having a hard time dominating the grip fight here, I will all of a sudden change to attacking the head. So if I can get my opponent to focus entirely on these wrist and elbow battles that we're having, that affords me the ability to perform a collar tie, and then defensively Rory would be going ahead and breaking that.
So one of the best ways of being able to break this is incorporating my shoulder. I want to first make sure posture is maintained, because as soon as Rob breaks my head down like this, all my defenses become a lot more difficult. Now I have the forearm on one side of my body here, so we recognize that that's going to be a wall, and if I try to do any movements this way, I'm moving into the hook as well as the wall. So we want to actually be moving away. I like to take this hand and try to grab up towards closer to the end of the lever. And I want to bring my shoulder in to start to try and bump his forearm off of my collarbone here, because he's going to be connected to my chest right now and making it difficult for me to turn to my right. By me being able to bring my shoulder in and bump, I can start to create some external rotation if he's really deep. And if he's not, I might be able to just kind of bump it up and off like this. And I'm looking to take this and shrug it and turn myself off to the side here. So this can be like a really quick motion where, like, as that grip just kind of coming in, I can quickly shuck it off, and it can become the kind of thing that I can get some lever control to match that grip here. And then as I bring it off, this is how we see a lot of guys setting up Russian tie 2-on-1 control. Obviously, at an even earlier stage, if Rob just is grabbing up towards my head, if I'm able to just start working to get to 2-on-1 control, any of the grips, regardless if it was gi or no gi, when somebody is getting a grip on you, you will see them reaching out in some way. You'll see white belts reaching out in really stupid ways, as we all did. They don't know how to control their alignment yet. But better guys are going to make smaller movements that are going to be less vulnerable. And so as that's happening, we want to intercept it. But this is mainly, we're talking about the ideas that once the grip happens, because it's going to happen all the way up until black belt, people will get dominant grips on you. You have to be able to break down those control schemes.
Yeah, and just quickly the ankle stuff, because it's hard for somebody to really control you at the ankles here. Just by what we call egg beaters, that you should be able to break those grips. But if somebody's got really solid grips on you, by gripping at the wrist, again, the same idea is I'm affixing his hand in place. I'm going to pull it slightly towards me, and it's the same as breaking the grip in the gi. It's just, a little bit easier, and then we can get our feet where they need to be.
So hopefully that gives you guys some good ideas of how to deal with these grips. We're not going super in depth. There's already a ton of material out there. So you can look into that. If I can see some good links, there should be some links in the descriptions of other videos that I think are great when it comes to grip breaks. So hopefully it gives you guys some ideas so you're not getting frustrated while you're trying to grapple.